Leo walked through the busy streets of Neo Lumina, his city of endless lights and futuristic towers, feeling the familiar hum of energy around him. Hover cars floated above, neon signs flickered, and people moved in a rhythm that was both fast and calculated. The city was impressive, but Leo's mind was elsewhere. His friends had been teasing him for weeks about his single life. They said he was too focused on work, too serious, and too careful. Leo knew it was true, but he didn't mind. That morning, his phone buzzed with a strange notification. It was from a company he didn't recognize. Congratulations. You have been selected for the NeoMatch compatibility program. Meet your match at Central Plaza at 5 p.m. Leo frowned. NeoMatch was one of those new social experiments his friends loved to talk about, but he never took it seriously. Before he could think, his friends popped up beside him, grinning. "Surprise, Leo," said Aiden, his best friend. "You're finally going to meet someone. Don't worry, it's totally safe. We signed you up. You can't escape now." Leo sighed, rubbing his temple. "You tricked me into this?" "Maybe," Aiden said with a mischievous smile. By 5 p.m., Leo reached the Central Plaza. It was an enormous open space in the heart of the city, surrounded by glass towers and floating gardens. People walked by, some with hoverboards, some with small robotic pets. At the center, a holographic platform glowed, displaying the name of his match, Ilara Vance. Leo scanned the crowd and saw her immediately. She was standing beside a small bench, her posture confident, yet cautious. Her right leg had a subtle brace, and she wore a lightweight mobility exoskeleton that looked sleek and futuristic. She was smiling, reading something on a small tablet, and seemed completely absorbed in her world. Taking a deep breath, Leo approached her. "Hi," he said, trying to sound casual. "I'm Leo. You're Ilara?" She looked up, her eyes sharp and curious. "Yes, and you're the lucky experiment subject?" She tilted her head slightly, as if testing him. Leo chuckled nervously. "I guess so. I didn't exactly sign up willingly." Ilara's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Most people don't. I think that's why it works. We don't know what we're getting into, so we act natural." There was something about her confidence that made Leo feel both nervous and intrigued. She had a presence that demanded attention without demanding it, and she spoke with a humor that was quiet but strong. They started walking together through the plaza. People passed by, some glancing at her mobility device. But she didn't seem bothered. Instead, she navigated the crowd with precision, laughing softly whenever someone bumped into them by accident. "So," Leo said, after a few moments, "what do you think about this whole NeoMatch thing?" Ilara shrugged. "It's strange, but also interesting. I like seeing people's true reactions when they don't know what to expect." "You?" "I'm curious, I guess. Nervous too," Leo admitted. "It feels weird being pushed into something like this." She laughed softly. "Good. Feeling something real is better than pretending everything is fine." As they continued walking, Leo noticed how she interacted with the city differently than others. While many relied entirely on technology, Ilara used her suit only when necessary. She had modified it with her own adjustments, a small stabilizer here, a lightweight frame there showing ingenuity and independence. "Do you always fix your devices yourself?" Leo asked, genuinely impressed. "Always," Ilara replied. "Why wait for someone else to solve a problem you can handle yourself?" Leo nodded. There was something inspiring about her attitude. He realized that her physical limitation didn't define her. It was her mind, her creativity, and her humor that truly stood out. They found a quiet spot near a small fountain, away from the crowd. Water shimmered in neon light, and the hum of the city softened in the background. Ilara sat down carefully, adjusting her exosuit. "You seem thoughtful," she said, noticing his gaze. What's on your mind? Leo hesitated. I was just wondering if I'm here for the right reasons. Sometimes I worry people. Stay with someone out of pity, rather than real interest. Ilara's eyes softened, and she leaned slightly closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Don't stay just to feel sorry for me. The words hit Leo unexpectedly. There was no accusation in her tone, only honesty. He felt a mix of guilt and self-awareness. Maybe he had been unconsciously influenced by the situation, by the fact that she needed a mobility device. No, he said, shaking his head. I'm not here for that. I want to get to know you. For real. Ilara studied him for a moment, her sharp eyes searching for any hint of insincerity. Then she smiled, a small, approving smile. Good. That's all I ask. They continued talking as the sun set over Neolumina. The sky turned a deep purple, dotted with streaks of glowing clouds. Leo found himself laughing at her clever observations about the city, impressed by her intelligence and her wit. She made him see the world differently through curiosity, resilience, and humor. As the evening wore on, they explored the city's hidden spots together. A rooftop garden with glowing flowers, a quiet library filled with ancient books, alongside holographic displays, and a small street where old neon signs flickered, creating a warm, nostalgic glow. Leo was surprised by how much he enjoyed her company. He realized he was drawn not by pity or novelty, but by genuine admiration and curiosity. At one point, Leo stumbled slightly on an uneven path. Without thinking, Ilara reached out, steadying him with a firm grip. Careful, she said with a teasing smile. Not everyone in Neolumina has good balance. Leo laughed, grateful for her support. She raised an eyebrow. Don't underestimate me. I've learned to manage more than you think. Her words lingered in his mind. There was a strength in her, a determination to face challenges head-on, that went far beyond her mobility limitations. Leo felt a mix of admiration and humility. Here was someone who faced obstacles every day, yet maintained independence, humor, and curiosity. By the time the city lights reflected on the water of the fountain, Leo knew something had shifted. This wasn't about an experiment or a dare from friends. This was about two people meeting honestly, exploring a connection that was real, raw, and unfiltered. As they prepared to leave, Ilara adjusted her exosuit and looked at Leo. I'll be honest, she said. I don't do fake relationships. I don't want someone to act because of expectation or pity. If you're here, it has to be real. Leo nodded, feeling the weight and importance of her words. She smiled, a mixture of approval and curiosity in her eyes. Then let's see where this goes. Step by step. No shortcuts. Leo felt a surge of excitement. For the first time in a long while, he was genuinely curious about the future, not just his work or his friends' jokes, but a future with someone who could challenge him, inspire him, and make him laugh even in the busiest, brightest city in the world. As they walked back toward the plaza, side by side, Leo realized that Neomatch had done more than just set them up. It had pushed him to confront his own biases, to reflect on what mattered, and to recognize the brilliance of someone who faced the world on her own terms. And for the first time in a long while, Leo felt hopeful. The next morning, Neolumina buzzed with its usual rhythm. Hover cars glided through the sky, neon lights reflected on glass towers, and people moved with precise efficiency. Leo woke with a lingering thought of Ilara. Her intelligence, humor, and quiet strength had left an impression he couldn't shake. He wondered if she was thinking about him too. By mid-morning, he received a message from her. Meet me at the Sky Gardens at 11. No Neomatch interference this time. Just us. Leo smiled. The Sky Gardens were one of the city's hidden gems, a series of floating terraces with plants and trees, waterfalls, and soft, glowing lights. Many citizens didn't know it existed. When he arrived, Ilara was already there, adjusting the small stabilizers on her mobility exosuit. She noticed him and waved. "Morning," she said cheerfully. "You're early." "I didn't want to be late," Leo replied. "I wanted to make a good impression." Ilara laughed softly. "You already did, but it's nice that you're punctual too." They began walking along the terraced paths, taking in the colorful flowers and the cascading waterfalls. Leo noticed how she navigated with precision. Her exosuit was impressive, but she didn't rely on it entirely. Sometimes she took careful steps without assistance, testing her balance, and other times, she used the device to glide smoothly over uneven ground. "You're very independent," Leo said. "I admire that." Ilara smiled but didn't look smug. "I have to be. The city isn't always easy to move through, and relying entirely on technology, it can make you lazy. I prefer to challenge myself." Leo nodded. He was learning something important. Her strength wasn't just in her body or the device she used. It was in her mind, her resilience, and her determination to face obstacles without complaint. As they walked, they came across a narrow bridge spanning a small waterfall. It was slippery, with a few missing panels, but the view was breathtaking. Ilara tested the first few steps carefully. "Want me to help?" Leo asked instinctively. She shook her head. "I've got this, but thanks for offering." Leo watched as she moved carefully, placing each step with precision. Halfway across, she paused and looked at him. "See? Sometimes we have to trust ourselves more than our devices." Leo smiled. "You're teaching me more than I expected." They reached a quiet terrace where soft lights illuminated small seating areas. They sat on a bench, the water from the waterfall, creating a calm background hum. Leo noticed the way Ilara looked around, observing everything. She was curious, engaged, and thoughtful. "So," Leo began, "tell me more about you. Not just what NeoMatch sees, but what really matters to you." Ilara's eyes lit up. "That's a big question. I like solving problems, puzzles, city challenges, anything that makes me think. I love learning new things and finding ways to make life better, not just for me, but for others. And I like humor. Life is too short to take everything seriously." Leo laughed. "I couldn't agree more. Humor makes even the worst days bearable." They spent hours talking, discovering shared interests in science, technology, and even old Earth literature. Leo was surprised by how easily they connected. Ilara's mobility challenges didn't define their conversations, they were equals, sharing ideas and laughing at small jokes. But then, a pause. Ilara's expression became serious. "Leo, can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said, sensing the weight of her tone. "Earlier, when we first met, did you feel sorry for me?" Her words were gentle, but they carried honesty. Leo took a deep breath. He had to be truthful, even if it was uncomfortable. "I won't lie. At first, I didn't know how to feel. I think part of me felt unsure because of your mobility. But now, I see you. Not as someone to pity, but as someone incredible. You're smart, brave, and funny. I admire you for who you are, not what you can or can't do." Ilara studied him for a moment, her expression softening. "Good. That's what I needed to hear. I've met people who stay with someone out of pity or out of fear. I don't want that. If we're together, it has to be real." Leo nodded. "It is. I promise." A breeze swept through the terrace, carrying the scent of glowing flowers. They sat quietly for a while, enjoying the calm, comfortable in each other's presence. Leo realized that this was different from anything he had experienced. No judgment, no pity, just genuine curiosity, respect, and growing admiration. As the sun began to set, Ilara suggested a walk along a quieter, less developed part of the city. It was a section she liked to explore because it was unpolished and real small shops, uneven streets, and hidden corners that told stories of the city's history. This area can be tricky, she warned. Not many people come here. My exosuit helps, but I like testing myself sometimes. Leo followed her carefully, watching her move with a combination of skill, caution, and determination. She showed him the subtle adjustments she made to her suit, explaining how she optimized it for different terrains. It wasn't just technology. It was human creativity, problem-solving, and persistence. This city is full of challenges, she said. Some obvious, some hidden. But that's what makes life interesting. You have to think, adapt, and keep moving. It's never easy, but it's rewarding. Leo nodded, impressed. You make it sound like an adventure. That's exactly what it is, Ilara replied. Life is an adventure, and we decide how we navigate it. They reached an old street market, where small holographic stalls sold rare goods. People moved slowly here, talking and laughing. Leo noticed how Ilara interacted with vendors. She wasn't afraid to ask questions, to negotiate, or to find clever solutions to small problems. Her independence and confidence shone through. See, she said, noticing him watching. I don't need anyone to do things for me. I just find my way. Leo smiled. And you do it brilliantly. They walked through the market, sharing stories and laughing at small misunderstandings with vendors. Leo realized that her physical limitation didn't matter here. What mattered was her mind, her courage, and her humor. He was drawn to her for the person she was, not for pity or sympathy. As night fell, they found a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. The skyline shimmered with lights, reflecting on glass and water. Leo turned to her. Ilara, I want you to know something. I didn't come here to feel sorry for you, or to experiment with a date. I came here because I want to get to know you. Your mind, your spirit, your humor. You inspire me, and I want to be around that. Ilara's eyes softened. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I want someone who sees me. They sat together, watching the city. Neo Lumina's lights reflected the possibilities of the world, and for Leo, they reflected a new understanding. He realized that true connection wasn't about pity or expectation. It was about respect, curiosity, and admiration for the human spirit, no matter the challenges faced. Ilara looked at him, her voice quiet but firm. Leo, if we're going to do this, it has to be step by step. No pretending. No shortcuts. Leo nodded, feeling a surge of excitement and hope. Step by step. I'm ready. As they left the rooftop and walked toward the transport hub, Leo felt something shift inside him. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't focused on work, friends' expectations, or city life. He was focused on understanding another human being, someone incredible, someone brave, someone who challenged him to grow. That night, as he lay in bed, Leo replayed the day in his mind. Her laughter, her curiosity, her strength, it all made him realize something important. Life wasn't about avoiding challenges or hiding behind technology. It was about embracing people, embracing experiences, and embracing the potential for growth and connection. And with Ilara, he saw all of that, not through pity, not through expectation, but through genuine admiration and respect. Leo closed his eyes, smiling. The adventure had just begun. The morning sun spilled over Neo Lumina's glass towers, casting a warm glow on the bustling streets. Leo felt a familiar excitement as he prepared for another meeting with Ilara. Their bond had grown stronger over the past few days, each encounter revealing more about who they truly were. Today, however, neither of them knew that the city had a challenge in store for them, one that would test their ingenuity, patience, and trust in each other. Leo's phone buzzed with a notification from the city system. Mobility devices alert. Citywide energy fluctuation detected. Exosuits operating at 40% efficiency. Travel may be unstable. He frowned, knowing exactly what that meant. Alara's lightweight exosuit relied on the city's energy grid to maintain balance and support. With a sudden drop in energy, her mobility could be compromised. He quickly sent her a message. Energy fluctuations today. Meet me at the Central Plaza. We'll figure this out together. Markensa Zinera. 2. Ilara replied almost immediately. Got it. Let's see what challenge the city throws at us today. When Leo arrived, he found Ilara standing beside a fountain, her suit flickering slightly as it adjusted to the unstable energy flow. She looked calm, though he could see the faint tension in her posture. Looks like the city decided to test us, Leo said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. Ilara smirked. It happens. We adapt. That's life, in Neolumina. They began their walk through the streets, and almost immediately, Leo noticed the difficulty. Ilara had to concentrate more on her steps, and the suit's usual stability wasn't fully reliable. Despite this, she moved with grace, testing the ground carefully, adjusting her balance, and never letting herself fall into hesitation. Don't worry, she said, noticing Leo's concern. I've handled worse. But I could use a hand navigating some tricky areas. Leo nodded, feeling a surge of protectiveness and determination. This was no longer just about dating. It was about teamwork, problem-solving, and human resilience. They reached an area of the city under construction, scaffolds, uneven pavement, and narrow pathways stretched before them. Normally, Ilara's suit would glide smoothly over this terrain, but with the energy drop, every step was a test. Leo offered his arm, and she accepted, though she insisted on moving as much independently as possible. As they carefully navigated the streets, Leo noticed the precision in Ilara's movements. She adjusted her weight, recalibrated her exosuit manually, and even used small steps to maintain balance. It was a dance of ingenuity and adaptability, and Leo was fascinated. Here was a human being facing limitations, yet finding ways to overcome them. No AI, no city system, no technology could replicate this level of creativity. See, Ilara said, pausing at a particularly uneven patch. It's all about thinking ahead, adapting, and trusting your own instincts. The suit helps, but it's not magic. Leo smiled. You're incredible. I've never seen anyone handle challenges like this. She laughed softly. And you're just learning. Good thing you're here to witness it. And rather, as they continued, a sudden tremor shook the street. A piece of scaffolding shifted, creating a gap in the path. Leo froze, unsure of the best route. Ilara quickly assessed the situation, her eyes sharp and calculating. We can't go around, it's blocked. But we can get across if we balance carefully. I'll guide you. Leo nodded, trusting her judgment. She moved first, testing each step with her hands slightly extended for balance. Leo followed, imitating her movements and listening to her instructions. Step by step, they crossed the dangerous gap, their teamwork turning a risky situation into a manageable one. See, Ilara said once they were safe. Challenges are opportunities if you approach them correctly. Leo laughed, partly from relief and partly from admiration. You make it sound so easy. It's not easy, she admitted, but it's possible, and that's what matters. Their journey continued, taking them to a small bridge spanning a canal. Normally, the bridge was easy to cross, but today, the energy fluctuations caused subtle vibrations. Ilara's suit flickered as she stepped onto the bridge. She paused, analyzing the situation. "I could cross carefully, but it's safer if we use the tools around us," she said. She pointed to small cables and support beams along the bridge. "We can create a temporary support path. It will take teamwork, but we can do it." Leo quickly understood. Together, they adjusted the beams, secured cables, and guided each other across. Each step required communication, precision, and trust. Leo realized that this moment wasn't just about mobility or technology. It was about human determination, ingenuity, and partnership. When they reached the other side, both of them laughed in relief. Leo looked at Alara, awe in his eyes. "You handle everything with such calm and creativity. I've never met anyone like you." Alara smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "And you're learning fast. Most people panic or step back. You're adaptable." Their bond deepened in those hours. It was no longer just curiosity or attraction, it was mutual respect. They relied on each other, communicated without hesitation, and celebrated small victories together. The city's challenges had become a playground for their teamwork, and both of them thrived in it. By mid-afternoon, they reached a quiet park near the water. Leo suggested sitting on a bench, and Alara carefully lowered herself down, adjusting her suit. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching children play nearby and the sun reflect off the city skyline. "I've realized something today," Leo said softly. "It's not just your strength that impresses me. It's your mind, your patience, your humor, the way you approach life. It's inspiring." Alara turned to him, her eyes reflecting sincerity. "I wanted someone to see me like that, not as a person who needs help, but as a person who can face challenges and find solutions. And I'm glad you're learning that." Leo smiled. "I'm not just learning. I'm growing. And I want to grow with you." Alara reached out, taking his hand. It was a small gesture, but filled with meaning. "Step by step," she said. "That's how we do everything. No shortcuts, no pretending, just trust and teamwork." The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. They stayed on the bench, sharing stories of past challenges, dreams, and small victories. Leo realized that the city, with all its technology and complexity, had nothing on the resilience of humans working together. By nightfall, they made their way to the rooftop of a small building overlooking the city. The skyline glowed with lights, and the stars above were visible through the soft haze. Leo looked at Alara, feeling a mix of admiration and affection. "You know," he said, "today showed me something important. Technology is amazing, but it can't replace human creativity, problem-solving, and courage. You prove that every day." Alara smiled, leaning slightly on him. "And you prove that humans can learn, adapt, and grow when they face challenges. We're stronger together." They sat quietly, feeling the city's hum beneath them. Leo thought about how much he had learned, not just about Alara, but about life, connection, and human potential. Challenges weren't something to fear. They were opportunities to grow, to trust, and to work together. As they finally prepared to leave, Leo looked at her with newfound respect. "Whatever comes next, we'll handle it. Step by step." Alara nodded. "Exactly. Step by step." That night, Leo returned home with a heart full of inspiration. He knew that the adventure with Alara was only beginning. Neolumina could challenge them in ways they hadn't expected. But together, they could overcome anything. And in that thought, Leo found hope, excitement, and a deep admiration for the human spirit that Alara embodied. A spirit that thrived on resilience, creativity, and teamwork. The morning air in Neolumina was crisp and bright, carrying the hum of the city's energy. Leo woke with a sense of anticipation he hadn't felt in years. Today, he and Ilara had planned to explore one of the older parts of the city, a place where the streets were uneven, small gardens hid in corners, and history whispered from the walls of abandoned buildings. It was a place that required both patience and careful navigation, and Leo felt confident that, together, they could handle anything. When he arrived, he found Ilara already waiting at the small plaza entrance. Her exosuit hummed softly as she moved with careful precision. She noticed him immediately, a bright smile lighting up her face. "Good morning, Leo," she said. "Ready for another adventure?" "Always," he replied, smiling. "But today, I want to try something different. Let's focus on teamwork, not just challenges." Ilara raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Teamwork? Huh. I like the sound of that." They began walking through narrow streets, the ground uneven and the walls lined with old neon signs. It wasn't easy, the paths were cracked, and some areas had small rubble piles. Normally, Ilara's exosuit would make travel simple, but she deliberately minimized assistance, using the suit only where absolutely necessary. Leo matched her pace, adjusting his steps to avoid tripping or falling, feeling more connected with each careful movement. As they walked, they came across a small bridge over a canal. A recent storm had left debris, and one of the bridge panels was unstable. Ilara stopped and studied it carefully. "We can't just rush across," she said, "but we can use some of the wooden planks from the rubble to make a temporary walkway. It will require both of us to coordinate." Leo nodded, impressed. "Sounds like a plan. Let's do it." They worked together, lifting planks, testing stability, and arranging them to form a safe path. Each move required communication, trust, and careful timing. Step by step, they crossed the canal, laughing quietly at the minor slips and adjustments they had to make. It wasn't just about getting across, it was about learning how to rely on each other while respecting each person's abilities. When they reached the other side, Leo looked at Ilara, admiration in his eyes. "You make every challenge seem like an opportunity. I've never met anyone like you." Ilara smiled softly. "And you've learned to see that challenges aren't obstacles. They're a way to grow. I'm proud of that." They continued through the winding streets, eventually arriving at a small, hidden garden tucked between two old buildings. The garden had glowing flowers, a small fountain, and a wooden bench. It was quiet, serene, and far from the city's constant hum. Ilara sat carefully, adjusting her exosuit. "This place is special to me," she said. "I come here when I need to think, plan, or just enjoy the peace. I want to share it with you." Leo sat beside her, feeling a warm connection. "Thank you for trusting me with it. I can see why you love it here." For a while, they simply enjoyed the calm, listening to the soft water and the gentle hum of the city in the distance. Leo noticed how thoughtful Ilara was, not just in her actions, but in her presence. She had a way of making people feel seen, valued, and respected, qualities he realized were rarer than talent or intelligence. After some time, Leo spoke. "Ilara, these past days have shown me a lot. I've learned to see you, not as someone who needs help, but as someone extraordinary. You've taught me patience, creativity, and courage. I admire you for who you are, not what you can or can't do." Ilara's eyes softened, her smile full of warmth. "Leo, I wanted to hear that. I don't want pity. I want connection, respect, and honesty. And I can see now that we have all of that." A breeze swept through the garden, carrying the scent of flowers and the city beyond. Leo realized that this moment, this connection, was more important than any challenge or experiment. They had built something: real trust, respect, and mutual admiration. Ilara adjusted her exosuit slightly. "You know, I've been thinking, we face so many challenges in the city, but maybe we can create something to help others. Not just mobility devices, but a way to combine human ingenuity with technology." something that respects independence and encourages growth. Leo's eyes lit up. That's a great idea. We can use what we learned together? Teamwork, problem solving, and resilience. We can make devices that empower, not replace. They spent the rest of the day sketching ideas on a portable holopad, brainstorming improvements for mobility devices that could adapt to human creativity. They imagined suits that allowed independent adjustments, wearable AI assistants that taught users how to navigate safely, and small tools for everyday problem solving. Through the work, Leo admired Ilara's brilliance. She thought beyond limits, imagined possibilities, and balanced creativity with practicality. Her physical challenge didn't hinder her thinking; if anything, it sharpened it. He realized that true strength wasn't just in overcoming obstacles, but in transforming them into opportunities for innovation. As night fell, Neolumina glowed with 1,000 lights. Leo and Ilara walked to a quiet rooftop to watch the skyline. The city stretched endlessly, neon lights reflecting on glass towers and water. Leo felt a sense of peace he hadn't known before. "Ilara," he said softly, "these past days have been incredible. You've taught me so much about patience, creativity, and courage. But most of all, you've shown me the beauty of true connection. Not pity, not expectation, but respect and admiration." Ilara looked at him, her eyes reflecting sincerity. "And you've shown me that people can learn, grow, and embrace challenges together. You've proven that connection isn't about what someone can do for you, but how you face life together." Enden intengus. Enden intengus. Enden intengus. Crom excesses. Enden intengus. Enden intengus. Enden intengus. Enden intengus. Enden. Leo took her hand gently. "Step by step. That's how we do everything. Together." Ilara squeezed his hand, smiling. Step by step. For a long time, they sat in silence, simply enjoying the moment. Neolumina's lights shimmered below, and the stars above were faint but visible through the haze. Leo felt a deep sense of admiration for Ilara, not because of her challenge, but because of the human spirit she embodied, resilient, inventive, and full of courage. Weeks passed, and their partnership grew stronger. They implemented their ideas for mobility devices, creating tools that respected human ingenuity while enhancing independence. Their project gained attention, helping people throughout Neolumina navigate the city safely and creatively. The city itself became a canvas for human potential, showing that technology was powerful, but human creativity, resilience, and collaboration were even stronger. Leo and Ilara continued exploring the city together, facing new challenges, solving problems, and sharing laughter. Every step reminded them that life wasn't about shortcuts or avoiding difficulties. It was about embracing experiences, learning from them, and growing together. One evening, as they walked through a quiet street lined with glowing gardens, Leo looked at Ilara and smiled. "I'm glad Neomatch pushed me into this," he said. Ilara laughed softly. "Me too. But we didn't just survive the experiment, we thrived because we respected each other, learned from each other, and trusted one another." Leo nodded. "Exactly. And I want to keep thriving together." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting warmth and confidence. "Then let's continue. Step by step. No shortcuts. No pretending. Just growth, respect, and partnership." As they walked hand in hand through the softly lit streets, Leo felt a sense of hope and fulfillment. He realized that true connection, true admiration, and true love came from seeing people fully their strengths, their challenges, and their spirit. And in Ilara, he had found a person who embodied everything remarkable about humanity. The city around them was bright and busy, full of potential. Yet for Leo and Ilara, the greatest light came from within, the light of trust, respect, and human ingenuity. Together, they had faced challenges, learned from one another, and grown. And together, they would continue, step by step, building a future that celebrated both technology and the indomitable human spirit.